On September 24th, 2010, 5 homes in Minneapolis were raided and subpoenas were issued to targets for providing material aid to foreign terrorists. Here are some of the targets.
Lela, and my experience about the FBI coming into my house, they took all the paper. I got to go to school, but lots of raids were happening over the part of the world and stuff. And one thing about the FBI is they're stupid. Yeah, I feel safe. I know they didn't get anything, but my mom's got the subpoenas.
On September 24th at 7 in the morning, maybe 8 agents from the FBI and 1 Minneapolis police officer showed up at my home. A warrant to search my house. The warrant said that they were looking for information on how I indoctrinate people into joining the anti-war committee. They were looking for all evidence of who my contacts are politically, both in this country and in other countries. And they wanted photos of all of my political contacts and photos of everything I do that's political. They wanted evidence of how we fundraise for the anti-war committee, which I think is kind of ironic considering that you know, we fundraise by holding a yard sale and having events like dinners, you know, to raise money, and we barely ever break $700 at any event that we ever fundraise for. I was allowed to be in my home, but then when supporters came and I went out to talk with them, then I was not allowed back in my home, which was not what I was told when I left. And it was a freezing day, and I was actually homesick with laryngitis, which is the reason why I was home at 7 in the morning. And so then I had to wait outside of my own home for hours. My daytime job is I'm a teacher in a southern suburb here in the Twin Cities. I ironically teach U.S. government.
On September 24th, I came back from an appointment to a frantic message from Meredith saying, "The FBI are in my house, give me a call." I was delivered my subpoena by a woman who came to the door, and she looked vaguely familiar. And she held up her FBI badge to the window, through the door, and I opened up for her. And she's like, "Hi, this will remember me from Arabic class?" And I looked at her and said, yes, I do remember you. And she was trying to be all chummy and saying, you know, this is for you, but you know, if you'd like to avoid a trip to Chicago, we could just talk here. I was like, no, thank you. She apparently works for the FBI, which I didn't know, and probably saw my name, and I'm sure that they, you know, they want people to be cooperative. They want to have this little chummy relationship with people to try and get them to just chat with them, and it's incumbent on all of us to know otherwise, and I'm grateful that I did, that, you know, I wasn't sort of pulled into that sense of friendliness. I do have a family. I have my partner and 2 young boys, 2 years old and 4 years old. I'm a part-time interpreter, or independent interpreter, and that's just a job that's contracted for Spanish or Russian interpreting. I also work part-time as a legal assistant for legal aid for low-income community members.
I was issued a subpoena on September 27th. But the following Monday at 9 o'clock in the morning, I heard a knock on the door. Nobody ever knocks on my door, so I knew who it was, and it was the federal marshals with a subpoena to appear before the grand jury in Chicago. Actually, I went out the back door and went to the front because apparently they can push their way in if it's FBI, so they handed me the subpoena and I took it, and that was it. Nobody has been charged, as a matter of fact. We have no idea what this is all about. It's an effort, obviously, to shut down an anti-war movement.
On September 24th at 7 a.m., I was in the living room with my 6-year-old daughter. I was actually trying to convince her that she had to get dressed before she watched cartoons. And just as we opened the kitchen door to go out to the porch to see who was there, 8 FBI agents sort of stormed onto our porch. My main concern was Lela. She was, you know, she was half naked, and all of a sudden all of these federal agents were like swarming all over our house. I said, I don't consent to this search. He says it doesn't matter. We have a search warrant. Go sit in that chair. And I grabbed Lela and I wrapped her up in a blanket. Federal agents crawled over the house, and Lela was very angry because they put the wrong. They put alphabet letters on all of the rooms, and Lela was very upset because clearly her room should have been an L and instead it was a J. Jess's grandfather had recently died, and he lived in Florida, and Jess had brought back most of his papers and his life history from his career at NASA, and the FBI took all of those papers, you know, which is very hard for her and her family. Yeah, I work at the University of Minnesota. I'm a clerical worker at the U of M.
My home was raided on the morning of September 24th, and I was served with a subpoena with a summons to appear on October the 5th. And they searched my home, and basically they searched everything, took my cell phone, my computer, and also my husband's cell phone computer, even though he was not named in the warrant. They said that they took 12 bags in total, and they gave me an inventory. And what was very strange was when I looked over the list of the inventory, I think the inventory is actually very incorrect, because there are things that they said that they took that I know that I don't have possession of. They've taken posters out of my house. I think those are very dangerous. They took a t-shirt. I'm sure that t-shirt was very dangerous. I saw an agent reading very studiously through a knitting pattern, trying to find some code through that. And even though the knitting pattern had a photograph of a hat that I had recently knitted through, and I'm sure that that hat was very dangerous as well. I'm angry, frustrated, but I'm also really nervous and scared, because basically right now I feel like my life is in limbo. I work for the University of Minnesota doing accounting for the central offices of the U of M.
I am a substitute teacher and I work part-time at a restaurant. I'm a member of the anti-war committee in Minneapolis, and I've been part of this group for the last 4 years. On September 27th, FBI agents knocked on my door, and I received a subpoena telling me that I was to appear before a grand jury in Chicago on October 12th. Just kind of upsetting and disturbing to have this knock at the door and to have FBI agents hand you a subpoena. I'm married. My husband John and I have been married for 5 years. He is quite concerned about what the outcome of this is going to be. But just today I was at home and the doorbell rang and my heart immediately started beating fast, and I got butterflies in my stomach, and I was afraid to go to the door and look through the peephole to see, is it going to be the FBI?
On September 24th, I awoke to the sound of a bang at the door, and by the time I was downstairs, there were 6 or 7 federal agents beginning to go through everything in our home. They showed us a search warrant that said they were looking for evidence of material support to foreign terrorist organizations. They went through every room of the house, the attic, the basement. They were there for about 4 hours, and during that time we were told that we weren't detained, but we weren't allowed to make phone calls. I made 1 phone call to an attorney. Well, I'm a clerical worker at the University of Minnesota. I'm actually right now on medical leave, but I've been at the university since '99. So I'm the parent of a young daughter. You've met my daughter Lela, and I'm very worried about what this will do to our family. Both of her moms were subpoenaed for this grand jury, and there is the risk that we would be taken away from her. We've had to make arrangements for our daughter in the event that we are incarcerated. That's a pretty tough thing for a mom to do.
I was woken up on September 24th, Friday at 7 a.m. By pounding on my door. I live in an apartment complex, so it was a little bizarre. There's a secured door at the front. To just sit on my couch. I was wearing a bathrobe since I got out of my bed. My alarm went off, and they wouldn't let me go turn my alarm off. It just went off. They took my phone. They told me they were going to confiscate my computer. They were going to go through everything.
When we asked to go to the bathroom, they told us we had to have an agent with us to go to the bathroom. When they handed me the receipt and asked me to sign, I asked them if I could see it before I signed, see what they were taking. They said no. So I refused to sign. I don't know exactly everything they took. They saw a scarf that I had gotten from the Holy Land in Minneapolis, and it had Arabic on it and the Dome on the Rock, and they took that. I had a decorative flag, plastic flag, with a Colombian flag, and they took that. I currently work as an organizer for AFSCME Local 3800, the clerical workers at the U of M. I'm angry. It makes you not feel very comfortable when you know that people have been in your house and went through all of your things.